Hello everyone, my name is Clay, and welcome to Terminally Nerdy. Today, I invite you to spend a nerdy moment with me as I discuss and review the new indie monster-catching game, Coromon. As a quick note, I did get a key for the purposes of this review, but trust me when I say you're gonna want to stick around till the end of the video. Now, I've been aware of Coromon since its original announcement all those years ago, and I even streamed the demo back when I still streamed on Twitch like 4 years ago now. I was looking forward to it, make no mistake, but after playing it for 20 hours and then getting so frustrated with the way the game was going that I stopped, you could say my feelings are mixed. Normally, I wouldn't consider this a review as I didn't finish the game, but given that the devs themselves say the game only takes about 20 to 30 hours to finish, and I hit about the 66% mark, I'm pretty happy to call this a review and be done with it. Let's get started! I have to hand it to Coromon, as the story is actually pretty interesting. Rather than trying to be the very best like no one ever was, you are instead a fresh-faced new employee of Vox Solis, a company that researches and builds tech around Coromon. You get put on the Titan research team and are tasked with finding the 6 Titans, these godlike Coromon beings, and collecting a small amount of their essence for further research. Along the way, a shady group of people gets involved and start messing with things, and you have to solve problems in each town before visiting the Titan, facing it in battle, and earning its essence. Overall, I enjoyed the story, at least up to the point that I got to, which was the 4th town. The mystery of the Titans is interesting, and there was some nice notes of protect the environment in there. The villains, though, are a little weird, I gotta admit. I will say that this game is gorgeous. I love good pixel art, and that's all this game has. Everything is clean, easy to read, and fantastic looking, as well as very colorful. Each new area feels unique from the last, from a spooky ghost town, a forest, a swamp, a desert, a water-filled cave, and so on. It did take me some getting used to, however, for the character models, as their heads are very, very large, and I find that they look a little silly. I also have to give it up for the battle screens and the Coromon designs. Each Coromon oozes personality, and I love all the ones that I've seen. Big props to my boy here, Ham, my starter, and my chunk toad. On the sound front, it's pretty standard. The music's okay and each area has unique themes, but if you asked me what the music sounded like though, I couldn't tell you. It's sadly pretty forgettable for me, and the sound effects are pretty stock as well. Now if you look at this game and think that this is just another Pokemon clone, you would be wrong, as due to the heavy puzzle aspects, the game is more Legend of Zelda crossed with Pokemon than pure Pokemon. And while there are a ton of similarities to Pokemon here, such as the stats and attack types being identical, there also are a ton of differences. For instance, there are 6 types of Coromon, but there are more skill types on top of the 6 base Coromon types. You still catch the monsters by walking through the tall grass, sure, but now you can fight double and even triple battles against the wild Coromon. You still fight trainers, sure, but most trainers are packing 2 or even 3 Coromon really early on. Fights are still turn-based, of course, but instead of each move using power points, Coromon instead use a single special points meter, and each of the 4 chosen moves will take a different amount of SP. Additionally, Coromon can skip a turn to rest and regain half of their total SP. For example, if their max is 30, they can rest to regain 15 points. One of the biggest changes though, and the system that I personally love, is the potential system. Rather than Coromon having EV or IV points like in Pokemon, instead they can come in one of 3 potential variations: standard, potent, and perfect. Within each of these variations there are 21 levels of potential. What does potential do exactly? Well, when your Coromon gains XP in battle, you'll notice a secondary XP bar under their main one. When that bar fills, they will then gain 3 stat points that you can place into any of their stats. Want to make a Coromon faster? Dump the points into speed. Want to make them tougher? Choose defense or special defense. The potential type and rankings dictate how fast they fill this potential meter. So obviously, a perfect, with 21 ranks, would literally be the best option you could get, and will get a ton of extra stat points as they level. Other changes from standard Pokemon are things like Coromon never forget moves. Instead, you can just switch between the 4 moves that they know at any given time outside of combat. I am aware that Pokemon Legends does this, but that's not technically a mainline game. Hopefully they keep that in the future. There are also NPCs that can do things like let you reset the potential stat points that you've earned so you can revamp a Coromon. An NPC that can re-roll the traits a Coromon has. Traits are this game's abilities. And there's even a teleporter system to travel between towns usable right at the start of the game. Oh, and there is an actual journal that can keep track of all your side quests and your main quest, so you could easily refer back to what you were doing or where you were going at any time. Also, instead of having to worry about your monsters knowing cut or strength or surf, instead you have the Gauntlet, a device that houses your versions of these things. You also eventually get a surfboard for water travel. And finally, I have to take a moment to talk about the difficulty settings, because there are actual difficulty settings, including a fully custom system. You have easy, normal, hard, and insane. Hard adds in the rule that a Coromon fainting means it leaves your party, and insane adds in that you can only catch one Coromon in each zone of the game via a device. Basically, hard and insane add in the rules for a Nuzlocke. And then, you could even choose custom, which lets you do all sorts of silly, wild things like, I don't know, capture the opponent trainer Coromon? It's very, very customizable, and I really like this about it. If you're used to Pokemon, there is a lot here that will be old hat, but enough new stuff to keep you on your toes as well. Alright, so, in order to properly explain why I quit after 20 hours, I need to spoil some things about the mechanics inside the dungeons that I visited, as well as some other events that occur in the main story. If you want to avoid these spoilers, click the timestamp in the description below to move forward. I'll give you a few seconds. Alright then, if you're still here, let's begin. This game is less Pokemon and more Legend of Zelda with Pokemon attached, and not in the way that I find enjoyable. Instead of gyms, you have the layers of the Titans, and these things are massive in size, usably multiple floors or areas, and filled to the brim with traps and puzzles. For instance, the very first Titan dungeon has roughly 5 floors, and includes the following puzzles that you have to navigate. You got door switches, where you have to flip switches to open and close doors to make a path. Then, you go to conveyor belts, where you have to navigate your way through the rooms by stepping on the belts and following the correct path. Then, you get a guess the 4 colors to unlock a door in 10 guesses or less, while the puzzle changes rules on you. The second dungeon consists of 3 different areas. Area 1, a haunted mansion, requires that you navigate a set of rooms where the correct exit is hidden, and you can sort of brute force your way through this, as the correct exit is always based on what changed in the room. Think of it as one of those spot the difference pictures, only you have to do it literally 7 times in a row without a mistake to progress. Then you go to a church, and you have to navigate jumping puzzles that will fall if you don't jump fast enough and in the correct direction. And falling causes you to start over in the room from the beginning. And then the third area of this thing requires you to touch and collect lights while hitting switches and avoiding other moving lights who, if they touch you, sends you back to the start. Then the third Titan dungeon involves puzzles where you have to navigate a room without being seen by guards, like as if you're playing Metal Gear. And the guards will turn around very quickly, and it requires split-second precision to get around some of the corners. Then you go into a pyramid, and you have to avoid shooting spikes out of walls, pressure plates that cause shooting spikes out of walls, and then moving walls to form paths to get further in. The puzzles alone were starting to drive me up the wall, because there's not a lot of combat in between these things. But it's what came next that caused me to throw up my hands and go, this game is really trying to just waste my time. So you end up in the 4th town, and it turns out you need to break a rock to get into the next section. You're told that a sensei at a nearby dojo can break it, But when you make it there after walking through a new area full of tall grass, the sensei tells you that he can't do it because he's too old, but he'll train you to do it. He then makes you do a timing-based minigame where you have to jump over a moving pole 35 times in a row without stopping, and the pole will speed up and then start slightly changing rhythms the further in you get. Then, he will teleport to a nearby town, but he disables your ability to use the teleport network, meaning you now have to walk all the way from his dojo back to town number 4. When you get there, he then meets you at an arcade and tells you that you must play a minigame and score at least 450 points. This minigame is quite literally the dinosaur jumping over endless runner thing that happens when Google goes offline. That's the minigame. Then, when you hit the 450 point mark, he teleports back to the dojo, and you have to, again, walk all the way back. And as an aside here, I have to mention, I actually played that minigame right at the start of the game because it's in your bedroom when you start, and I had a score of 475, which the game refused to recognize, so I had to play it again to get the 450 because it didn't register that I already had the score. We're not done yet, though. Once you get back to the dojo, he makes you paint his fences. Followed by him telling you, and laughing at you, that, oh, that wasn't part of your training. He just wanted you to paint his fences because they needed to be painted. At this point, the game is very clearly just wasting my time. That's what it feels like. Because I'm not wanting to do any of this. I'm supposed to be a researcher. This is just pissing me off. And then, we get to the point where I quit. We go back inside and he says, for my final trial, what I must do is take 3 unique Coromon spinners, the devices you catch Coromon in this game with. I have to go outside. I have to find 3 unique Coromon and catch them. I can't use my own squad for this. Bring them back and fight him, and his Coromon will be guaranteed 5 levels higher than mine. Oh, and I can't train the ones I catch either. So whatever I catch them at, that's what they are. I can't modify them, apparently, according to him. Why do this? I already have Coromon that I've caught and I want to use. At this point, I quit. I'm like, no game. No. Because you are demanding that I do these bizarre things that don't promote the narrative. They don't move the narrative forward. It's busy work, and I'm not about that life. Oh my god. Oh, and just all of these puzzles and all of this game is releasing on Android and iOS, and you're going to have to play with touch controls. I cannot imagine trying to do some of these precision-based puzzles with touch controls. The movement and the speed at which you have to navigate this stuff is so precise, I don't see it. Just no. I spent huge chunks of time on a controller having problems jumping the platforms or avoiding the spikes. Just, God, no. Right. Okay. Calm down, Clay. Just calming. This game is not for me. I thought it was. I wanted it to be. And it started so strong. I was loving the game. But then the reliance on the puzzles, and later on the time-wasting stuff just really dragged me down. To the point where I was legitimately seeing red. If you can handle these issues, this game might be perfect for you. Also be aware that at launch right now, I don't know if they've been fixed yet, but apparently some people are having bugs, and crashes. Keep that in mind. But if you can handle all that, the game may be perfect for you, and it's only $20 on Steam. It's going to be on iOS and Android, and even eventually Switch. And I do think that if the devs made a Coromon 2, and toned down the puzzle aspects, maybe add a few Coromon, as there's only 114 total, and that includes all evolutions, and maybe focused more on the monster catching, they could have an absolute winner on their hands. As always, I want to thank you all so very much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. You know the drill. Every YouTuber asks this stuff. Check me out on Patreon if you're so inclined, and hey, be kind to each other, stay nerdy, and I'll see you all in the next one. Take care.